to welcome you to episode 512 of the Unpopular Podcast. This is the man, the myth, the legend, Jalen Hunter. Here at the Unpopular Podcast, not really asked to agree with me, I'm asking you to hear me out. I'm also asking for you to forgive me. I'm feeling a little under the weather, so if my voice sounds a little weird, I apologize. But the draft is essentially the team's first chance to steer the organization in the direction that they want to go. Obviously, a lot of times you can't pick where you're going to be selected due to the lottery, but it allows you to give yourself a sense of direction. Are you trying to compete? Are you trying to contend? Are you trying to start a rebuild? The draft is essentially the first place that allows your team to have some type of future direction. And this episode is going to focus on both draft winners and draft losers. But before I go on, I want to congratulate every single person that got drafted and every single person that didn't get drafted but maybe got picked up as an undrafted free agent or got picked up on a two-way contract. You see, I think in the history of the NBA, about 4,000 to 5,000 people have played in it. Whether it's one game, whether it's a lengthy career, about 4,000 to 5,000 people ever has played in the NBA. To put that into perspective, it is such a small group of people that can say they've been in the NBA, whether drafted or not. So a lot of this conversation is going to sound harsh. And a lot of this conversation is going to sound like what a lot of these people did or a lot of these people accomplished isn't recognized. Because like I said, I'm going to talk about some picks that I like, and I'm going to talk about some picks that I may have been a little head scratching, but I do want to congratulate every single person that got drafted and that didn't get drafted but got picked up to a team. Every single one of you guys are at the top of your class, man. So, congratulations to that. But I want to start off on a positive note. So, let's start off with some winners. I think that it's easy to say, the Dallas Mavericks are winners because they got Cooper Flagg, who was number one. But I think that I looked at this as when I leave the draft is now over, obviously, I know the direction that this team is going in. And either it's a clear direction of a rebuild or it's a clear direction of, we're trying to get better. We're trying to contend. Let's not get it twisted. Not every team has the idea that they're a championship caliber team. Some people understand, we're not there yet, but we're building. Or some people understand, you know what, we're not going to contend for a few years, but we're trying to build for the future. Some teams know how to do it. Some teams do not. It's funny. I know I said that it's easy to say that Cooper Flagg and the Dallas Mavericks were winners. So I'm going to leave them off my list. However, I am going to talk about the Spurs. Because when you look at them getting someone like a Dylan Harper, I think that was, I know it was the number 2 overall pick, but I think that was a great draft pick. It was a little head scratching at first because it's like, all right, at this point, I see what you're doing. You're getting the next available player. Cooper Flagg obviously was out of the picture. So universally, the next best player was Dylan Harper. I was curious, and I'm going to be curious how they essentially have a team that has Dylan Harper, that has Stephon Castle, that has De'Aaron Fox. That's a lot of people. Oh, not to mention Victor Wembanyama. That's a lot of people that need the ball in their hands. And Dylan Harper is a score first player. Like, I don't know if you saw him at Rutgers, but he's a bucket. And I'm interested to see how they incorporate all those players, and essentially that's four mouths to feed. But I think a lot of people were saying that he could be the number one player in the draft. I am not one of those people, but I do like the pick. You're essentially at number two. There's no wrong answer. Well, there are some wrong answers. Let's be real. But I did like the Dylan Hart, and I also like the Carter Bryant pick that they got. I think that when you're a team, because I can imagine how difficult this is. When you're a team that is in a superstar sweepstakes. Because remember, just 2 weeks ago, it was thought that you could possibly get a Kevin Durant. And I would probably understand that if you got someone like a Kevin Durant, the number 2 pick might be in the balance. So I can understand how difficult it is to go from, all right, we may not be using this number 2 overall pick because we're going to get a player the likes of Kevin Durant, to have to pivot. Now, yes, it's a little easier when you get the second best player in the draft, or for some people's opinion, the first best player in the draft. But I can imagine how difficult it is. And to go get a Dylan Harper, you may not be as close to a championship with Dylan Harper than you would with Kevin Durant next year, but you have a young core, and you have a team full of youth, you have a team full of promise, and you have a team that you can go in a lot of different directions. And I'm very interested to see what the Spurs look like this year. Again, with Kevin Durant, I would say they're title contenders. I don't know if I'm going to go as that far, but I am excited to see the second-year leap for Stephon Castle, who just won Rookie of the Year, Victor Wembanyama, whose season got cut short due to blood clots, and now Dylan Harper. Also, side note, I want to talk about there's been a lot of hoopla on the web about Dylan Harper getting the number 2 jersey, which, for people that don't know, the last player that wore number 2 for the Spurs was Kawhi Leonard. Now, I understand the discussion to a certain extent. It's like this player has clearly been important for your franchise. He won Finals MVP for your franchise. When you had Tim Duncan in the final stages of his career, Tony Parker in the final stages of his career, Manu Ginobili in the final stages of his career, it was Kawhi Leonard to step up against the Miami Heat and really take charge, which, again, ultimately was the reason why he won Finals MVP for that franchise. Obviously, he won 2, one with the Spurs and one with the Raptors, but we're talking about the Spurs. So I get it. But I also understand the fact of Kawhi Leonard. I think people are looking at this situation the same way they're looking at Carmelo Anthony and Nikola Jokic. It's like Carmelo Anthony built this legacy in Denver with number 15, and then you give it to somebody like Nikola Jokic, who has far past what you could ever think a second round pick could do for a team. I mean, it's undoubtable that Nikola Jokic is the greatest second round pick we've ever seen. I mean, he's in discussion for one of, if not the best centers of all time. And again, he was drafted with a Taco Bell commercial playing, you know? But I think people are also underestimating. Now, I will say that Dylan Harper could be that good. Who knows? Dylan Harper could be the next coming of Allen Iverson. I don't know. And if that is the case, there will be discussions, obviously, towards the end of his career, or however long he stays with the Spurs. But I think people are discrediting the ending to the Kawhi Leonard relationship with the Spurs and the fact that Kawhi Leonard's still playing. And I know that he's dealt with a myriad of injuries, but it doesn't seem like he's going to retire anytime soon. So it's like, I don't want to hold a number for ransom. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to hold a number, especially when number 2 has meant so much to Dylan Harper. I mean, he's essentially been number 2 since since high school, and he was a second overall pick. It just felt right, you know. I don't think this is disrespecting the legacy of Kawhi Leonard. This is just saying, I mean, Kawhi Leonard, it didn't end the happiest, and on top of that, he's still playing. They could still very well retire Kawhi Leonard's number. So I'm just saying. But yeah, I think one of the winners is Dylan Harper, and the Spurs essentially drafting Dylan Harper. Spoiler alert. I'll give you guys a little bit of behind the curtain. This next team is landing on my draft winners. They will also be landing on my draft losers. And that is the Suns drafting or getting, because I know the Rockets and the trade and everything, getting Kaman Maluk. Sorry if I said your name wrong. Going into the draft, and especially it was very evident last year that a big man should be at the top of the Phoenix Suns list. As great as Kevin Durant was, as great as Devin Booker was, as great as Bradley Beal can be, not having a reliable center always put the Suns behind the 8 ball. Especially a team that struggles mightily defensively because, I mean, as great as Devin Booker is, as great as Bradley Beal is, they're not really defenders. So when your backcourt ain't really stopping nobody, you need a good front court, and they didn't really have that. So to go into the draft and get essentially what a lot of people think is the best center out of Duke, and as much as I hate Duke, because people know I'm a North Carolina fan, I think that was a huge pick. Again, this is a team. Obviously, they got the number 10 pick from the Kevin Durant trade, so we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But you got the best available player for your needs. And a lot of people are saying that he is the best center. And when you look, he's a high-energy player. He's a great defender. He's not the type of person to really put the ball on the ground and get you a bucket. I don't think he'll ever turn into a Joel Embiid, but nor do I think he'll turn into a Nikola Jokic. But he can be a high-energy defensive player, and that's essentially what the Suns need. So I think drafting Kaman Maluk is Maluk. is Malik. I'm sorry, I said your name wrong, but I think that was a home run pick, especially when you see how dire it was for them last year not having a center. So you go out, you have the number 10 pick, and you get essentially the best center. I think I think that was a slam dunk pick in my opinion. So the Suns that's a winner in my book. Let's talk about I want to talk about I want to talk about the Philadelphia 76ers for a second. Because we're going to talk about Ace Bailey also in a second, but the whole Ace Bailey situation kind of put them in a conundrum. I'm going to elaborate a little bit later, but it kind of put them in a conundrum. And it's like, all right, what is the best? How can we salvage a situation? How can we salvage when maybe the number one person on our board is either not available or doesn't want to come to the team? What do we do? And to get someone like VJ Edgecombe, I know he's the number 3 pick, but you get essentially one of the best guards in the draft. You get a defensive-minded guard. You also get a guard that is high-flying, that is an energy player, that can lock up, but also don't go. Like, you got the best player you can, and when you have a team that has dealt with so much injury and so much uncertainty moving forward with a Paul George, with a Joel Embiid, with a Tyrese Maxey to a certain extent, I think getting someone like VJ Edgecombe is great, especially when I'm almost sure that there was a monkey wrench thrown in the draft process for the 76ers. I'm almost sure of it. And I think they got the best player that they could at that position. So, and I love VJ Edgecombe. Like he out of Baylor, he was incredible, man. And again, I understand you're looking like, all right, I don't know if he's going to start immediately because again, maybe you put him at the 2. You have Tyrese Maxey, him, Paul George at the 3. Who knows? But I do think that I don't know 100%. Actually, I do because the reports have come out. when a monkey wrench was thrown in your draft process, I think they got the best player that they could, and I think he's going to fit. And that's another thing. He was very dependable at Baylor. Now, I understand that the college basketball is different from the NBA, but he was very reliable and very healthy, and that's also something that the 76ers need a lot of. So I think getting VJ Edgecombe is really good. That's one of my winners. A sleeper pick, and honestly, a pick that I don't know what it's going to look like in year 2, but I'm going to pick a winner. I'm going to put them as a winner, is the Pacers drafting Cam Jones out of Marquette. This move is not good. You're not going to have Tyrese Halliburton all year. Unfortunately, with the torn Achilles in the NBA Finals, Game 7, that is, you're not going to have him all year. And when you look down the roster, outside of T.J. McConnell and Aaron Nesmith or Aaron Nimhart, I don't know. You don't really have a legit backup point guard. And I'm going to just be real. I don't think the Pacers are going to be very good next year because they're missing their star player. But you have a player that's been in fact, I don't. You had a player that's been in college for a minute, and he he gives you insurance. There you go. He gives you good insurance. Where the Pacers were drafting, you got the best option that you can get. Again, it's going to be interesting. I know this was a second round pick, but again, you didn't really have many options. You know what I'm saying? Actually, it was a first round pick. I'm sorry. You didn't really have many options, and you essentially got a backup point guard who, might I add, is a pass first point guard. So I know that he can score and everything, but he's a pass first point guard. And actually, is he an undrafted free agent? I think he is. Mm. Yeah, he definitely is an undrafted free agent. But even in that, I think that's a good pickup because again, you're not gonna have. Oh no, he was not. He was he was drafted 38th, um, and traded to Indy. Yeah, I think that was a great pick, and again, he kind of helps in the immediate. I expect him to be on the roster because they need backup point guard help. T.J. McConnell is probably going to play a lot of minutes next year, and you know you need some type of insurance. And I think Cam, again, I wonder how he's going to look. When Tyrese Halliburton gets back, but I think that was a great pick, to be completely honest with you, or at least a great trade because I know he was traded. Uh, so yeah, that is one of my winners is the Pacers trading for Cam Jones out of Marquette. Really good player, pass first player, sort of. I'm not gonna say Tyrese Halliburton prototype because he's not the same height and he does not have the same vision and point guard ability as Tyrese Halliburton, but he is a good backup option, especially when you're not going to have that. So, uh, yeah, that's one of my winners, and my last winner because I'm gonna do 5 winners and 5 losers. My last winner, man. Mm, I'm gonna have to give love to the Wizards. You knew this was coming. I'm a Wizards fan. And it kind of goes back to the Philadelphia 76ers. When the person that you want, the person that's probably number one on your draft board, essentially gets taken, you do not have much time to pivot. You don't have much time to make decisions. Now, obviously, you have a war room full of people. You have scouts. You have you have people that sole purpose is to look at these players and understand who would be a best fit for your team. But when you see a player slowly dropping, and it's like, uh oh, uh oh. And then the pick right before you, he gets taken. Soul crushing. Soul crushing. But shout out to the Wizards for, in my opinion, getting the best shooter in the draft in Trey Johnson. Yo, last year, now the Wizards need a lot. Let's be real. The Wizards, I don't think are really in a position this year to contend in that or even get better. I know they just traded Jordan Poole for uh, what's homie? Oh, why is his name just CJ McCollum and draft picks and everything, but what it's looking like is not this year, but next year there should be up to like $100 million in free agency that they can use, like free agent money. Uh, so hopefully we, who knows, who knows. AJ might be available next year. I mean, he's more than likely coming out of BYU next year. Who knows? But I love what the Wizards are building. You have Balsabali, you have, Alex Sarr, and now you have Trey Johnson, who I think is the best shooter in the draft, especially when I'm sure their eyes were set on one player who we'll talk about in a second. For that player not to get not to be there probably suck. And I'm not looking at Trey Johnson as like all right, well, consolary pick. No, it's you got the best available, and I think that he's gonna fit the team incredibly. When Bud Carrington and this it's a very young squad, and you have some veteran presence. Obviously, you have Marcus Smart, you have Chris Middleton, again, CJ McCollum. So I'm interested to see what they'll look like this year. But I think the Wizards got the best shooter in the draft in Trey Johnson, and I love that pick, especially with who was available at that position. So, again, my draft winners, Pacers trading for Cam Jones, Philly getting VJ Edcombe, Wizards drafting Trey Jones, the Spurs drafting Dylan Harper and Carter Bryant. I didn't talk much about Carter Bryant, but I think Carter Bryant is a really good piece. Again, it's a lot of youth around your best player, and your best player, obviously Victor Wembanyama, is also young too. So and then the Suns getting Kaman Malik. I think those are really good picks, and I think that it really puts your team in a great position moving forward. So those are my draft winners. Again, congratulations to everyone that got drafted. I think the world of you guys, and you guys should be proud of yourselves. So, with that being said, there are draft winners and there are draft losers. I want to put something into perspective. I am all for being in control of your controllables. I'm all for someone being able to dictate their career path. I mean, hopefully, people are able to do that in other spaces, in the workforce. So, I'm always for people being able to dictate their path, And I also want to give some context. A lot of things that we see these days aren't original. What I mean by that is a lot of things that these kids and these people are doing has been done before. That doesn't necessarily mean it's right, but I don't want people to think that what Ace Bailey essentially did and is doing is new. Dominique Wilkins did the same exact thing. There have been many players that has refused their services for a team or threatened to refuse their services, might I add, to a team. Eli Manning did it. I think John Elway or Dan, one of them two, did it. What Ace Bailey essentially did, which And I'm not saying it's just Ace Bailey. I'm going to say Ace Bailey and his team. Because every report you're saying usually says Ace Bailey and his team, or Ace Bailey's team. So I don't think that Ace Bailey is the sole manufacturer of these ideas and decisions. But when you go into the draft process and refuse to essentially train or practice with a team because you do not want to go there, and your camp comes out and says you don't want this, or this team to draft you, or you say I only am going to report to this, and this team, one of which being Wizards. You're essentially taking your draft process and taking your future in your hands. In one sense, I love it. In one sense, I get the fact this is a new day and age. Even though I just said that this isn't new, there have been people, again, Dominique Wilkins did this, there have been people that have done this before, but this is a new age. At the end of the day, a lot of these athletes are worth millions upon millions of dollars on their own without the league. So essentially, which obviously that's up to them, but essentially you would like to dictate what you can dictate. However, there is a reason why I have Ace Bailey and the Utah Jazz as my first loser. One thing that is said religiously is there are no actions without consequences. And another thing they say in the workforce, in the work world, is you don't want to burn bridges before you even get to the organization. And when you make the decision, or your team makes the decision to go the route that Ace Bailey went, essentially telling people that you refuse to go to these like you refuse to work out with teams, which is essentially saying I don't want to be here. When you do that, when you say I only want 1, 2, or 3, someone like I only want the Nets or the Wizards to draft me, I don't want to go to Philly. Like when those reports start coming out, you're essentially, lack of a better term, bottlenecking your career before you get there. Now, I put them as a loser, but I understand what are you going to do if you're the Utah Jazz? Because it's like, do you let that essentially change and dictate your draft? Like, hold on, you're the best player at 5. Why would we not take you? Even though you just said you don't want to go here, you're the best available player. You know? Again, I want to make it clear that Ace Bailey is not the first player to do this, nor am I upset, nor am I calling him a loser, him and his camp, for essentially trying to dictate your career, your future. But as much as you may be worth in college, as much as you may be worth outside of the NBA, you're dictating moves before you even get to the league. And one thing that is abundantly clear is the league will continue with or without anyone. The league will go on with or without anyone. Do you know how many players were projected draft picks, high draft picks, and ended up not getting drafted, not even getting picked up by a team? Do you know how many college stars are stuck in the G League? Think about it. And I don't mean to single him out or pick on him. I'm not picking on him at all. I'm just giving him using him as an example. Armando Bacot was a star, player of the year, or ACC player of the year. I think has the most double doubles in North Carolina history. I think most rebounds in North Carolina history. He was one of the best college players of his time. The man can't get, and he's excelling, might add. He's excelling in the G League. Can't get on the roster to save his life. Not saying he's trash, but what I'm saying is this: Ace Bailey and his team. I know how good. I mean, I didn't think you would fall past the Wizards, even with everything, because it's just how talented you are. But as we've seen with players like Shedeur Sanders, the league does not need you, and the league will make an example of you if it wants to. I think I respect it, but I think that the way that Ace Bailey and his camp kind of did things, even though he's not the originator of it, I do think that wasn't the best, especially when you're trying to get in the NBA. Again, I started this by saying I think 4,000 to 5,000 people have ever. Think about how many people live in your state. And then 4,000 to 5,000 people of all, like ever have been in the NBA. So you're trying to break into a small fraternity. And I think the way you went about it was kind of crazy. I get it. You want to control the controllables, but maybe not that way. Your talent alone, Ace Bailey is talented. Obviously, he was projected to go the third pick. But I don't know. I just don't think the way he went about this draft process was him and his team. I will continue to say him and his team. I don't think it was the smartest way to approach the draft process. So I have that as one of my losers. I gave praise to the Philadelphia 76ers and made them one of my winners for. Ace Bailey was projected to go third. He was projected to go to the 76ers. However, with him coming out and saying, if you're 76, I don't even want to train with y'all. I don't even want to work out with y'all. Probably don't draft me. And I think reports are coming out saying that his camp informed the Philadelphia 76ers, if you draft him, he will not report. Ace Bailey went fifth. The Philadelphia 76ers drafted third. That means there's a fourth person, and that fourth person was the Charlotte Hornets. Look, I think Con Knipple had a fabulous career or fabulous freshman season at Duke. One of the best shooters in the draft, one of the best shooters, and honestly, one of the biggest surprises of last year. And again, I understand when somebody as talented as Ace Bailey essentially throws a monkey wrench in your draft process, and you're forced to make a decision of, do we draft someone like Ace Bailey, who essentially said if we draft him, he's not gonna he doesn't want to play here, or do we get the next best player, or what do we do? So I understand that that's probably a tough decision to make. I just don't like the Con Knipple pick at 4. I know it just seemed like he just skyrocketed with this whole draft process and workouts and the combine and everything. But I don't know. I just don't like that pick. I don't like the pick because I don't think he's the 4th best player. I don't think he's one of the he can be a top player. I don't think he's the 4th best player in this draft. Again, I also don't think he's the 5th best player because I don't think he's right behind someone like Ace Bailey. So, and again, when you look at it, and we'll talk, and this is kind of a theme in the next few losers, in my opinion. When you look at the Charlotte Hornets, what direction are they in? I think that is the indictment right there. It's like, I started this by saying that this is the first chance for a team to really get set into a direction. When you look at the Charlotte Hornets, what direction are they in? What direction does Con Knipple signify? Are they're not, they're too good to rebuild because they have a great player in LaMelo Ball. And I don't think I don't think Con Knipple really changes the meter. He isn't the best ball handler. He's a phenomenal shooter, but he doesn't really create space. In fact, he created space in college. I don't know if he's going to be able to create space in the NBA like that. So it's like, you got that person at 4. Lottery picks are supposed to, are kind of viewed. Now, I will admit that this wasn't the deepest of drafts. This wasn't, 2020 draft or something like that. But I just think you could have done better with another direction. Now, I will also admit I don't know what the direction is. Maybe trade that pick. I don't know. But I just think there were better options, and you could have done more with the 4th overall pick than Con Knipple. Again, no offense to him, but I don't think that he is 4th overall pick talent. I could be wrong, and if I am wrong, I will come in here and heap praise where praise is due. But I just don't see it. Again, I understand when someone like Ace Bailey kind of throws a wrench in your plans. I get it, but yeah, I don't like what I don't know. I don't think Con Knipple is a 4th overall pick talent, in my opinion, even in a draft that isn't as strong. So, but shout out to Charlotte. And again, man, it goes back to like the direction. One of the reasons why I'm putting him in the loop is, what direction is Charlotte in? I know they've kind of been directionless for a minute because their best players essentially can't stay healthy, but it's like, I don't know the direction that Con Knipple puts this team in. So, but yeah, that's one of my losers. Look, I think, in fact, I'm going to save them. I know I kind of spoiled one of them and said that the Suns are in my winners and they're also in my losers. And honestly, the draft isn't why I have them in the loser, because I think the draft pick was phenomenal. It was in the same draft. While the draft was going on, you see a trade has been made, and the Phoenix Suns acquire Mark Williams from the Charlotte Hornets. For people that may be wondering, yes, the same Mark Williams that plays center. Yes, the same Mark Williams that got traded to the LA Lakers, but then the trade didn't go through because that's the same Mark Williams that did not pass his physical for whatever reason. Now, is he healthier? Yeah, cool. But you literally just drafted a player that plays the same, damn near has the same exact body type, plays the same way, maybe not as gifted offensively, but plays essentially the same way as Mark Williams in Cayman Malik. Look, I understand, and this really shows how you can go from great to not in a span of minutes / hours. Like, you went from a team that looked like, I see the direction you're going in. I know you just traded, Kevin Durant. You still have Jalen Green. We don't know if he's going to get rerouted, but you still have Jalen Green. You still have Dylan Brooks. Okay. You still have Devin Booker. You still have Bradley Beal. You seemingly can't get off of Bradley Beal because of that no trade clause. I kind of see the direction that you're going in, getting Cayman Malik. It's like, okay. But then you give up draft picks to trade for essentially the same player. So you go from, I kind of see the direction that you're going in, to, I don't know what the hell the Suns are doing. So did I kind of cheat? Because, again, that's not in the draft. Yes. But this happened during the draft, and it's just like, bro, what are you doing? What are you doing? It didn't make much sense, if you ask me, like at all. But yeah, that to me that's a loser, because it goes back. What direction are you in? Like, what is your direction? And I, for the life of me, cannot. I don't know. Boy. Okay. Walk with me here. When you have 1, 2, 3, 4. When you have 5, 4 or 5, I think it's 5. When you have 5 draft picks, in fact, when you have 5 draft picks in a draft, I think 4 of which being first round picks, usually you find a way to package those picks, and you can essentially try to get a star, because that's 4 first round picks. Like, it's very rare that you have 4 first round picks and you use all 4 first round picks. That's one. That's a rarity. It's also rare that you have 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 5 picks overall, and you essentially miss on all 5. That is what the Brooklyn Nets did in the draft. They had the 8th pick, 19th pick, 22nd pick, 26th pick, and 27th. And they found a way to not only not package those picks up and get a better player or potentially get a star, they drafted every single one of those picks. In the first round, I'm sorry. In the first round, they had 5 first-round picks. And they missed every single one of them. Igor Dimin, Nolan, whatever, Tarior, I'm sorry. That's another thing. They essentially drafted 4 guards and a big man. A forward, I'm sorry. 4 guards. You know how people were killing the Cleveland Browns for having 5 essentially 5 quarterbacks. You drafted 5 players in the first round, missed on all of them, might I add, and you drafted 4 guards. What sense does that make? This is the same team that is looking to re-sign Cam Thomas, who is a score first, second, third, and fourth on his mind. All he think about is score. Again, when you have that many draft picks, it would be smart to package those up, especially in a weaker draft, might I add. Package those up and try to get a better player. Try to get a star. 4 first-round picks, as we're seeing, can get you a solid player. Damn near a star. But to draft all 5 of those picks and none of them hit, like, my boy, it's not a good look. Not a good look. That lands you on the losers. Now, you weren't the worst loser, but you're that was a crazy draft night for the Brooklyn Nets. I'm looking at them like, you're gonna draft who? Okay. Wait, you're gonna use this okay. Who? Okay, 0 for 2. 0 for 2. Looks like you're gonna use all these draft picks, so you got another who? You got homie from North Carolina that I watch a lot of. He's not the greatest offensive player. Okay, but all right. Underside. Okay. Oh, you're gonna draft again? Oh, okay. I just don't know. It just didn't seem like. It just didn't seem like they had a real grasp on the draft. Which brings me to my worst loser of the night. Now, I have to preface this by saying the draft pick itself wasn't why they're landing on the loser spot. I actually really like Derek Queen out of Maryland. Shocker. A Maryland guy likes Maryland. But Derek Queen was one of the best centers, especially when we talk about scoring centers in the draft. He was one of the better players in the draft. Drafting Derek Queen is not what essentially landed the New Orleans Pelicans on this list of losers. And in my opinion, far and beyond number one. But when you trade a first round unprotected 2026 pick to essentially move up 10 spots to get Derek Queen, that's where you lose me. Again, I think Derek Queen is phenomenal. I'm not upset with the draft pick. But if we're being completely honest, Derek Queen is not worth trading an essential first-round pick, unprotected, next year. Now, I also want to add a couple contexts to this. The New Orleans Pelicans star is Zion Williamson. Phenomenal player when he is available. The issue with Zion Williamson is he has not been available more times in his career than he has been available due to injury. Your starting backcourt is looking like it's going to be Jordan Poole and DeJounte Murray. DeJounte Murray is coming off of an injury, a season ending. I think it was an Achilles tear or ACL tear, one of them two. If I'm not mistaken, it was an ACL tear. What I'm saying is this. Do I think Patrick Queen is a phenomenal player? Yes. Do I think that he is worth being, or do I think that he's good enough to be drafted at number 13? Yes. I wouldn't have been shocked if he was drafted higher. Do I think that Derek Queen is worth not just Do I think that Derek Queen is worth trading a first-round pick next year for a team that is their best players has a extensive injury history? And they also, might I add, play in the Western Conference. Do I need to remind you guys who is in the Western Conference? In fact, last year, let me see something really quick. The Pelicans finished 21-61. Albeit, they dealt with a bunch of injury, but that's kind of happens yearly. So, there is a very good chance that you just traded away a very high draft pick to move up 10 spots. 10. It ain't like you moved from 23 to 5, 23 to 4. You moved 10 spots, essentially mortgaging your immediate future for Derek Queen. Again, I think Derek Queen is a phenomenal player. I don't think he's worth moving up 10 spots and giving up next year's first-round unprotected draft pick when your star player has a extensive history of getting injured. And your second best player is coming off of a season-ending injury. In fact, your entire team outside of Jordan Poole right now is coming off of injury. On top of that, if everyone's healthy, how is Patrick Queen going to play? Because he's not the best defender. And I'll say, hold on, bro. Hold on. Let me look at this roster really quick, just to make sure I'm not tripping. Patrick Queen ain't the best defender. The man ain't like. Look at this, bro. Jose Alvarado dealt with injury last year. Bruce Brown dealt with injury last year. Jordan Hawkins dealt with injury last year. Trey Murphy III dealt with injury. DeJounte Murray lost the season, dealt with injury. Alfred Payton dealt with injury. And obviously Zion Williamson. So it's like, on top of that, the man is 6'10", bro. They have 2 7-footers on this team. And one of them is Hunter Dickinson. The more and more I look at this, again, it sounds harsh, and I like Derek Queen. I love Derek Queen. I don't think Derek Queen is worth giving up or being this year's draft pick and essentially giving up next year's first round, especially on a team that seems to religiously get dealt the injury bug. Your best 2 players constantly. Herb Jones. Forgot about him. Herb Jones lost most of the season due to injury. Like, come on, man. I don't know, bro. It don't make much sense to me, but bro, Atlanta just got Kristaps Porzingis. They have a really good opportunity to be really good this year, especially with the East being wide open with the injuries. The same cannot be said for the West. You got Golden State coming back. You got, obviously, Oklahoma City Thunder. They just won the championship. You got the Rockets. You got the Spurs. You got the Nuggets. What? You got the Lakers. And you mortgaged to move 10 spots. That's the thing. You mortgaged essentially next year's draft pick, which could be quite high, to move 10 spots to get Derek Queen. Those are my losers. Yeah. I mean, again, I wish nothing but the best for every team and every player that got drafted. Those are some of the more head-scratching decisions. So, another head-scratching decision, and this is the last topic. Masai Ujiri parts ways with the Raptors as essentially the chairman and team president. I'm not shocked that this happened. We heard about rifts between him and management and ownership, I should say, going on as far as two years ago, and we knew that this would be the final year of his contract, so we didn't know what was happening. We also heard Masai Ujiri connected to teams like the Wizards and other possible team president or GM situations. So the fact that they parted ways isn't the most shocking thing because we kind of saw the writing on the wall for years now. What was shocking to me is the reports are saying that Masai Ujiri essentially knew he was out as early as June. For people that don't know, the NBA Finals just ended, probably last week. So, if you knew as an organization, right, that Masai Ujiri, and shout out to him for still being professional, right, and not screwing over the organization. But if you knew as Masai Ujiri and as the Raptors organization that he will not be here as early as before the NBA Finals started, why in God's name and how could you let a man that essentially is walking out the door, how can you let that man be in charge of your draft? Essentially be in charge of your future, knowing he's out. Like, that's like the manager of a job knowing they're about to get fired, and you expect them to train the next manager coming in. That doesn't make sense. That's not going to go the way you think. Now, again, shout out to Masai Ujiri for being the ultimate professional, and I don't think he's going to be out of a job long unless he wants to. He brought Toronto a championship. He brought them Kawhi Leonard. He's one of the best team presidents that we've ever had, and he will. If he doesn't want to be, he will not be out of a job soon. He changes. He instantly changes an organization. But again, now I think there's also a bit of delusion when it comes to the Raptors organization because it's just like reports are saying that his contract extension was essentially based on how the Raptors did last year or essentially this year. And I don't know what you were expecting from that team. I know Scotty Barnes is your best player, but let's go back to the rosters. I just want to read out a couple players on this team. What did you expect was going to happen with Osei Abaji, RJ Barrett, Grady Dick, Brandon Ingram, who was dealing with injuries all year, Elijah Martin, Jakob Pertl, Emmanuel Quickly, Jamal Sheed, who was dealing with injury. 39-year-old Garrett Temple. What did you think this team was going to do? I don't know. It comes back to real. It just goes back to expectations. But again, shout out to Masai Ujiri for essentially bringing the championship to Toronto back in 2019. Again, if he doesn't want to, he will not be out of a job for long. I just think it's crazy that you knew that this guy was going to – it's essentially said that they parted ways, so they knew this was finna happen. And you let this man, the one that you knew – now, again, he didn't mess it up, so shout out to him. But you let this man that you knew y'all were finna fire or mutually part ways, you knew he was gone. So why you let him spearhead your draft before he left? I don't know, man. I don't know how professional I would have been. I might have messed around and drafted R.J. Davis or something. I don't know. But again, congratulations on a successful career as the president of the Toronto Raptors. And again, he's only going to be out of a job if he wants to be, if he don't want to work. So, and there you have it. That's been today's episode of the Unpopular Podcast. Again, I appreciate you guys. Please forgive me. I know I sound all nasally. I got a little cold. I sleep with 3 fans on essentially. So, yeah. But if you want a Popular Podcast shirt, hoodie, sweater, long sleeve joggers, the link is in the description below. I have multiple different colors, multiple different designs. Get your Unpopular Podcast merch today. Also, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm trying to get as many subscribers as possible, and I can't do it without you guys. Please tell a friend to tell a friend and tell a friend to subscribe if you like the content. Again, I'm trying to grow, and it has to be team effort. So I appreciate it if you share, comment, subscribe, all that. Also, for my DSP listeners, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, same thing. I'm trying to grow as much as possible, and that's on every platform. No platform is bigger than the other. So I need you guys to comment, share, subscribe, follow. Help me. If you love hearing my luscious voice, please follow, please subscribe. And I appreciate you guys. Also for my social media, Instagram, TikTok, I post pretty much dailies. That's where you get reels. That's where you get stories. That's where we can go back and forth. That's probably the quickest way to get to me. If you keep respectful, I don't mind going back and forth. It just means you're listening to me and you have an opinion about whatever's being talked about. Both I appreciate. So, yeah, Instagram, TikTok, please follow. Until next time, much love.